Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It's really a great pleasure to be standing here in front of all of you to deliver a lecture today. It's been a very interesting journey for us at Al-Hijrah College. As was said in the beginning, we opened our doors for students in 2012. And it's a thing of joy that over the years, even now, some of our alumni, they now are married, okay? And by the grace of God, one is even marrying tomorrow. So we are growing, and before you know it, even their own kids will be graduating here too, inshallah. Now, the topic for my presentation is 13 habits of successful students. The reason for the topic is because we are primarily addressing our graduating students. The next phase of their life is university education. Inshallah, we expect within the next 2 years, like every set before them, inshallah, they will all be pursuing university education of their choice all over the world, not just in Nigeria, inshallah. And it's important to talk to them and try to equip them with additional knowledge about what they can do to be very, very successful in their universities. I too was a university student sometimes in my life too. And of course, I was also a lecturer. So I will be drawing on the experience, not just of myself though, in this my talk today. I believe every one of the graduating students have read this, right? Have you all read this? Ace it. Okay, if any of you hasn't read it, please make sure you get a copy before you leave. Ace it is written by a friend, Mr. Jide Olatumbode. I met him when he was in part 3 in the University of Lagos. He wanted to come and do internship in my organization. And typical of me, I told the uncle to send the CV. And that was my typical strategy of saying no to most people when they say you want to come and do internship. My company didn't have too much. In fact, we have a policy of having 11 people at a time. That's all. That was the policy. So, and being a paramount IT company in Nigeria, it's understandable that students from all over Nigeria will want to come and do internship there. People will want to do NYC there. So we always had to say no. But before we say no, I always like to see CVs. By the time I was shown the CV of Jide was in part 3 in the university, okay? I was the one chasing after him. Okay? Let me just fast forward to not tell a long story. Jide finished NYC in 2010. Today, 2010 is about 14 years ago, right? Today, Jide is the Chief Information Officer of Consumer Healthcare for Asia, the Middle East, and Africa for Procter & Gamble. He is based in Singapore right now. 6 months ago, he was based in Dubai. At the time, he was the CIO for Middle East and Africa. He was just promoted to now include Asia. Digressing a little bit, about 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, I got a call from my state governor to nominate for him a director general for ICT for the state. Interestingly enough, the first name that came to my mind was Jide. At the time, he was in Kenya. Okay? He was in charge of East Africa at the time. He was in Kenya. And the first thing I did was to actually pick up the phone and call Jide. You know, you are a Ekiti man like me. So we need you in Ekiti. So this is what I want you to do. But I don't want this to affect your career in Procter & Gamble. So what we are going to do is we have to figure out a way they will give you a leave of absence for the 4 years you will be serving us in Ekiti State. After a few hours, Jide and I, we came to an agreement that he will come to Ekiti State, actually. But before I went back to the governor to tell the governor, something just told me, this guy is so young. He just graduated in 2010. And here we are, less than about 9 years later, to now make him the Oga Patapata for ICT in the state, he will not find it easy. So I called him and said, you know what, I've changed my mind. I will go there myself. And so that's how I found myself in Ekiti, as the DG ICT. However, 3 months after that conversation, Jide was promoted to cover the entire Africa, not just East Africa. So he now relocated to Johannesburg, South Africa, as the CIO. Okay? So from Johannesburg, he went to Dubai, and from Dubai now in Singapore. Why am I saying this? I learned one thing while I was in the university. My professor, who was also my supervisor, used to say something. When somebody is talking, 3 things are important. What is being said, how is the person saying it, and who is that person saying it? My professor used to say, the most important of the 3 is who. AC is Jide talking. He was talking about how he became an excellent student. Those things he was doing that made him an excellent student, scoring A in every course, is the same thing he started doing also when he started working. Okay? So that's how. So, in my presentation today, Jide's thoughts are very, very prominent. Okay? And as an individual too, I was educated in the Ukraine. In fact, I went to Kharkov State University where I did my first degree, second degree. And I was a lecturer there before I got my PhD. Then I moved to Canada where I got postgraduate diploma in information technology. I am also a certified management accountant from the USA. And until I went to Ekiti State to be DG ICT, I was an assistant professor of economics at the Crescent University, Abeokuta. Before that, before Abeokuta, before Crescent University, I was doing something I believe, if you ask people to raise up hand in this hall, at least half of you would have heard it. If you have heard Remita before, raise up your hand. Remita. To the glory of God, that was, I would say, my most important contribution to humanity. Alhamdulillah. So, who is talking? So take it that both Jide and I are talking to you from our personal experience. By the way, I also was an A student in the university. Okay? Everything I'm going to be saying are not just relevant to university, it's also relevant to your careers in life. Success in the university lays the foundation for future career opportunities, your personal growth, and your long life achievements. It equips students with essential skills. University, equips students with essential skills, knowledge networks that open doors to professional success and personal fulfillment. This requires daily habits that contribute to long-term achievement. These habits shape our academic journey, influencing our ability to learn, grow, and excel. My speech will be highlighting the 13 important habits that contribute to a successful university education. The first of the 13 that I'm highlighting is to desire greatness. By desire greatness, I mean you have to desire to succeed. Not just mediocre success, but you have to aim high, shoot for the sky. As I mentioned, Remita, that you all know today, started its journey in 2004. And yet it is 100% internet-based application. Designed at a time when there was almost no internet in Nigeria, nevertheless. We saw that there would be a time in Nigeria where internet will be everywhere, and we wanted to prepare ahead for it. So we aimed high. We aimed to ensure that every company in Nigeria, every individual in Nigeria can do things from the comfort of their homes, their offices, without the need to be going to banking or to do them. And we believed it was possible. And not just doing it in one bank, but you can stay in your house or in your office and do it. Even if you have 20 bank accounts, you will do it from your house on all those bank accounts. As I'm speaking to you today, I'm unaware of the equivalence in the entire world. Even today. Not in USA, not in Canada. Where you can log into a single platform and debit any bank account from the country and credit any bank account in the country. They are still working on it even in the USA today. We started that in 2004. That is, we didn't think about, okay, what is it that are being done by other countries? We decided to leapfrog and we led the way. And to the glory of God, we were successful. When I say we, actually, you could almost call me a supporter. The person that actually deserves the entire credit is the person that made the sacrifices to make all this happen. I was just a staff. I was an employee. So when I say you desire greatness, you must be willing to pay the price. So I'm not the one who paid the price of Remita. The owner of Remita paid the price for it. Yes, I designed it. In fact, its origin is actually the 2004 Pension Reform Act. When I went through the Pension Reform Act and I could see that there is no way the things that are required of organization can be done successfully unless we change our payment system in the entire country. So I designed a payment system to support that thing. And as they say, the rest is history. Yes, I designed it, but designing something is easy. Make it work. Paying the price to make it work is not that difficult. It's not that easy. For the first 8 years of Remita, we couldn't even pay the salaries. We couldn't make enough money to pay salaries of the staff who were doing Remita. Yet my Oga, John Tani Obaro, stood with it, believed in it, funded it, dedicated even his own time to it, giving it everything it needed until the day came when the federal government of Nigeria, the CBN, Central Bank of Nigeria, adopted Remita as the payment platform for the entire country. As of that time, even Mr. Barrow was still riding the car he was riding like 7 years earlier. So that was how much sacrifices we had to make for the greatness we desired. So if you desire greatness, you must be ready to make the sacrifices. But desiring greatness is not just saying it to yourself, I want to be great. No, you must be specific. You must know what you want to do. You must know what you want to do. As students, what I will expect you to want to do is to excel the maximum possible, scoring A in every course. And this experience, which he narrated in the book, suggests that practically anybody, an average student, can actually score A in every course and score 5 in every subject. Because he gave specific examples of how other people followed this methodology and they ended up on top. Okay? So you have to be specific. If it is your career too, you need to be specific about what you want to achieve. And then you need to be sincere with yourself. Okay? So don't try to have objective that you cannot possibly attain. So most importantly, you write it down. Whatever it is that you want to do, write it down. So that it's not going to be just a pie in the sky that is flying all over the place. You want to ensure that you can be seeing your target, what you want to do every single day. Okay? So, second habit, so that's first habit, desiring greatness. The second habit is to be realistic. Yes, it's important to aim high, but it's also important to be realistic with your expectation. Don't hold tight to things that are not real. Just because your objectives are noble, that doesn't mean it will be achievable. So you have to make sure that your objectives are achievable. At all points along the line, you must recognize and correct misconceptions. There will be mistakes, there will be errors. If I go back to the Remita situation that I just described, when we came up with our design, we were so sure that the National Pension Commission will be too happy to promote what we have designed to move the country forward. We explained, we made presentations to them time and again. We kept thinking that, no, it's because they don't understand us. We kept going back again and again and again. Regrettably, they didn't get it. Okay? So we got real. We started marketing directly to customers on the street. Okay? So it's important to correct your misconceptions, recognize them and correct them. Don't continue doing the same thing and expect different results. The third habit is taking risk. You have to take risks in order to succeed. Even though you have to take risks, as students, you have to risk the people you work with. They may see you as vulnerable. It's okay. You take the risk. Open up to people to let them know that you need help. At work, you have to take risks with your career. If you are not ready to take risks, you cannot succeed. There is a saying I love. They said, goes like a ship is safe in the harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. If you put a ship at the harbor, yeah, it's safe. It can be there for 50 years. But for ship to do what ships are meant to do, it has to set sailing. Okay? So you have to risk in order to achieve your success. You have to participate as students in class discussion. When teachers ask questions, lecturers ask questions, and if you keep dodging, you will not have the necessary habit of being able to speak out, even when you get out of university. Whereas when teachers ask questions, when your lecturers ask questions, you raise up your hand. You say what you need, what you think. Even when they've not asked you, you raise up your hand to ask questions. Put your lecturers on the hot spots. Interestingly enough, when I was a lecturer, I lectured in Ukraine, I lectured in Canada, I lectured in Nigeria. I love all the students who used to give me tough times. Okay? It's a joy for a student to be able to prove me wrong. It means the student understands whatever it is that I'm trying to say. So no lecturer will be annoyed with you if you are able to prove them wrong. In fact, if you make that your objective, trying to prove this lecturer wrong, you will almost always score A in such a subject. Because for you to prove him or her wrong, you have to know the materials. Okay? So you have to participate in discussion. Join clubs. Clubs, especially in your specialty in university. Joining them gives you opportunity to also have extra knowledge, to gain extra knowledge, to meet extra people that ordinary other people will not meet. You also have to know that when you take risk, you will fail from time to time. That's normal. Okay? So you must learn from every experience and learn from every failure. Habit number 4, act promptly. By acting promptly with, what we are saying is that you shouldn't be waiting for the right time. Too often people wait and wait and wait. I say, oh, this is not, when they want to do something, I will do it tomorrow. Tomorrow I will do after tomorrow. When you, whether you are a student or you are a professional, anything you need to do, do it now. Let me give you an example. I studied economics in Ukraine, Kharkov State University. Kharkov is in the news lately for the past 2 years for different reasons, but I won't go into that. But I studied economics there. When I wanted to immigrate to Canada, the immigration process, I was still in the Ukraine, okay? The immigration process required 2 interviews. One was general interview, the other was professional interview. After my general interview, I now was invited for the professional interview. Okay? And whatever you are doing where you are living is what Canada will consider you for when you get to Canada. So I told them, yeah, I was going to Canada as an economist. So the guy that came to interview me as a professional in economics came all the way from Canada to Ukraine. I met him in Kharkov, the embassy of Canada in Ukraine. He asked a question. He said, you studied economics here in Ukraine, part of Soviet Union, with a socialist economy that just collapsed. Everything they teach you in the university is not relevant in Canada. How can you imagine that you, who is here in Ukraine, can be successful in Canada as an economist? And an average person will have a meltdown. Because everything he said was true. It was the truth. The economics they were teaching us is different from the one you will learn in universities in Canada, or in UK, or in America. My answer to that question will shock you. I asked him, you studied economics in the university? He said, what did you study in the university? He said, business admin. So I said, so you did a lot of economics? He said, definitely. I said, try me. He said, what do you mean? I said, any part of your syllabus. Ask any question. He couldn't believe it. Then, of course, he took up the challenge. The guy said, Milton Friedman, what were the most important contributions of Milton Friedman to economics? And my answer was very simple. I said, before I talk about Milton Friedman, I will talk about David Friedman, his son. His son, David Friedman, had PhD in physics with chemistry. And yet, at the time, he was one of the most published economists in America. He never studied American economics, Eastern Europe economics, none. He was self-taught. And yet, he was one of the most published economists at the time in America. I say, if that guy can do it, I studied a different type of economics, but nevertheless, economics, you can be sure I will do better. Then I now proceeded. That man you just mentioned, yes, his most important contribution to economics is the quantity theory of money. And in fact, I reached into my portfolio. I brought out an article on how the Ukrainian government can use the quantity theory of money to reform the economy of Ukraine. So I gave him that. I said, in addition, so that thing you say is Western economics, I've actually published a book, which was true at the time. The book is called Introductory Economics. I reached into my bag, I brought it out. I said, these are the economics you are taught in your university. I published this. I gave him the copy. He went through, he just flipped through for about 2 minutes, and he said, Dr. Bakare, this interview is over. That was essentially the only question I asked. I needed to answer. So, how was I able to do all that? Even though those were not the things I was being taught in the university. Very simple. At the time I was still in the university, right from my part 1, I acted promptly. I knew what I was being taught in the university was not adequate to meet my career aspiration. So, when I was in part 1 in the university, I will go to the London School of Economics. In London, I will go through all the courses they are supposed to learn in part 1, buy all the necessary book. In addition to doing my economics in my own university, I study everything part 1 students who are learning also in the London School of Economics. Did the same thing in part 2, did the same thing in part 3, did the same thing in part 4. So much so that I could almost tell you the course content of any course of BSc Economics in London School of Economics. I didn't wait for me to graduate from university to correct potential deficiency in my education. Okay? So it is important to act promptly. Don't wait for tomorrow. And the way by acting promptly, and you build confidence over time also, because you get used to doing it again and again and again. Imagine if I had all the knowledge that I had, when that guy interviewed me, said all those things, it was because I had the confidence that I could tell him to try me. It's because I wasn't afraid of him either. As at that time, I was used to talking to professors. If I'm correcting whatever professors are saying, I had no problem with that. And my professors loved me for doing so while I was still in the university. So it was nothing for me to raise up my hand and tell the man what I thought. In fact, I'm sure I won't want to put my friend on the spot here. I know people know me that in Nekitio, I don't know how to keep my mouth shut. I always say whatever I think, okay? No matter who is seated. Because you have one life to live, okay? So, by when you practice and you act promptly, you build your confidence over time. But if you procrastinate, I will do this tomorrow, I will do this tomorrow, I will do this tomorrow, you won't gain the necessary confidence to be able to take anybody on. The next habit 5, is to take responsibility. You have to take the responsibility for whatever happens to you. If you try to, assuming your year 1, typically year 1 is the worst for most students in the university. It was for Jide. It also was the worst for me too. In my year 1 university, I actually had 2 courses in which I didn't score the highest grade possible out of 10. Okay, and that was my worst year. In fact, those were the only 2 courses in which I didn't score the highest grade in my entire university career. Okay, but it was in year 1. So, when you fail to achieve objective you want, it's also important to take responsibility. Don't blame it on, the lecturers didn't like me. For the most part, that is almost never true. Okay? Take responsibility for whatever failure that may happen and look at what you can do to make it better. But if you are in denial and say that, it's the lecturer that doesn't like me, of course you won't take responsibility. Habit number 6, move past rejection. As you try to progress in life, both in school and outside of school, you will find people who will shun you, who will not be willing to work with you. It's okay. Move to the next person. So just because you are rejected is not a reason for you to give up trying to achieve your objective. Learn from your past mistakes. Don't make yesterday's rejection your focal point for today. Don't dwell on academic setbacks. Use feedback to improve and to grow. Habit number 7, be open-minded. Open your mind to new ideas and perspectives. Engage with diverse viewpoints. Continuously seek knowledge and be flexible. In fact, talking about seeking knowledge continuously. Earlier this week, I was chatting with John Tani Obaro, the MD that owns Remita, okay? I was chatting with him, and he told me that, I'm studying AI. John Tani Obaro is about 6 years older than me, so he's long retired. He's supposed to be, in fact, he's retired. However, he still gets involved in the company. Though I normally make fun of him that he should just let go. Okay? So he said he's studying AI. Why are you studying AI at your... He's at least 65 years studying AI. So I said, okay, by the way, where are you studying AI? He said on Coursera. Okay, I think some of our students are studying AI also on Coursera, even in Al-Hijrah college, coincidentally. And some have even passed at least one course. Our students in JSS 3, they are studying on Coursera right now. And we hope that all other students will even try to study on Coursera during the holidays, inshallah. We will communicate appropriately with everybody about that. Being open-minded is to be flexible. When you are trying to do something one way, if it's not working, change it. Even if it can work. It's sometimes for the benefit, in the interest of your team. If two things are, either one you think may give you the desired objective, for the benefit of your other team members, to make them feel that they also are contributing, you should allow your other team members to have their ways. So that's part of, so being flexible, being open-minded is part of what you need to succeed. For instance, you may like to be studying from 9 to 11 p.m. You are studying with 3 other people. So be flexible to try to moderate the time so that you can adjust. Other people will also be accommodated. Habit number 8, adapt expectations. You should never maintain rigid expectations. Be flexible with your plans. Adjust to changing circumstances. And avoid disappointment by managing your expectations. Okay? So at any point in time, you need to revisit your expectations and manage it as appropriately. Habit 9 of 13. Communicate effectively. You should never assume that people are mind readers. Imagine your lecturer asks you to answer, okay, like the question I was told. What makes you think you can succeed in Canada, even though you've not studied what they are studying in Canada? Imagine if I had answered, don't worry, I will succeed. Because I'm sure I will succeed. Don't worry. I know I will succeed. And I stop. He will say, okay. Chances are, he would have just crossed the distance and say, this guy is going to be a failure. So, the person you are communicating with, they are no mind readers. You should first of all try to understand what information they are looking for when you need to communicate with them, and make sure you give them appropriate information. One of the ways to test whether you are communicating appropriately is to try to see if you are in the shoe of that person. Have you given that person enough information to make the right decision in your favor? So if you are in an examination hall, they say, let's say, for example, they say, what is a noun? Meanwhile, you are in university, and then you say a noun is a name of place, things, or concepts, and you put full stop. And then you now expect that they will give you 100% for that answer. You could score 100% for that answer if you are in primary 1 or primary 2, but not in the university. So you should try to understand what the other person is expecting and give it to them. The same thing is applicable even when you are working. You must communicate effectively. Try to understand what the other person needs and give it to them. Give timely feedbacks to people if somebody asks you for something, whether it's at work or in the university, your lecturer says you should go and do a project, for example, and maybe that project you don't even know where to start, how to go about it. You have to let the lecturer know immediately, ASAP, that you are being challenged, so that they can look for how to help you. Don't wait until the deadline of the submission of the project before you now go there and say, "Oh, I have a problem, sir." No, give timely feedback. And ask for feedbacks too. When you give something to somebody to look at, when you say something to somebody, try to ensure that the person understands what you are trying to say by asking the person stylishly to essentially play back what you said. Okay? So look for ways to ensure you are well understood. Everyone needs to understand you clearly. Your lecturers, even your friends, your parents, your co-workers, everybody needs to understand you. The 10th of 13 is to keep the right company. No man is an island, definitely. You will always mingle with people. The people you mingle with, they will soar with you or bring you down, depending on who they are. So it's very important you keep the right company. Negative people don't distract you. If you mingle with negative people, you will never achieve anything. Surround yourself with positive influences. Avoid negativity and non-constructive criticism. There are people whose only specialization is to say, it's not possible. Anything you want to, it's not possible. It's not possible. It's not possible. It's okay to be critical of somebody's attempt at doing something. But while you are saying it's not possible, say how it's going to be better. Don't stop at not doable. You know the objective of what we are trying to do. Bring a superior suggestion. So move with people who will always look for how to bring superior suggestions. Not those people who will just stop at it's not possible. And then they will demoralize you and they are going nowhere either. Okay? The number 11 of 13. Be charitable. By being charitable, we mean you should never hesitate to share your knowledge. Students that teach other students, they often do better than those who hoard knowledge to themselves. In the experience of Jide that he narrated, he was all over the place, coaching people, teaching people, going all over the place. Okay? And interestingly enough, that's exactly the same experience I had in my university days too. I was always coaching, training, lecturing my co-students in courses we were being taught. So be willing to sacrifice your resources to help other people. Your resources, the most important of them is also your time. Having said all that, you should know your limits. You should not help to the point you will have no time for yourself. Okay? And then you choose who you help wisely. Don't choose those who will drag you down with them. Somebody you will be explaining topic 1 of 50 to 100 times is still there. Then if you stay with that person where he is, you too may find yourself there. You give it your best, but set limits for your time, for yourself, about when you will now move forward. Habit 12 of 13 is to seek assistance as needed. Never be ashamed of not knowing something. Rather, be ashamed of not asking for help. That's a Russian proverb. No matter the situation, never be ashamed of not knowing something. Nobody knows everything. Only an idiot will say, oh, I'm supposed to know everything, so I have to keep my mouth shut so that I won't look like an idiot. Keeping your mouth shut actually will make you look like an idiot. Feel free to ask anybody for help at any time. Okay? It's also important to ensure you don't keep doing the same thing, expecting different results. Talk to somebody. If you are not being successful at what you want to do, you are doing it again and again and again, seek for help. Don't assume you must do it all on your own. Don't ever isolate yourself from the society. And the final one, habit 13, is to be humble. It's very important to avoid being perceived as boastful. Because if you are perceived as boastful, even your lecturers will not like it. Your classmates will not like it. So don't be, even if you are not boastful, but you are perceived as boastful, it's the same thing as being boastful, okay? So learn to lower your wing of humility, as we are taught by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In every respect, lower your wing of humility. Even to the person you are teaching, be humble to them. Approach them with nice words. Be approachable, and remember that whatever you have is from Allah. Even though you are scoring A, whatever, you are rising high. You are not the first person who tried. The fact that Allah answered your prayer and make it possible for you, you should attribute it to Allah and be thankful to Allah. And also, no matter what you do, when Allah says your time has come, it's almost impossible. It's impossible for anybody to stop you. I remember one day, when I was still working on Remita. Typically, I had people who can go to the kitchen, make coffee for me and everything. But I love walking around and go to the kitchen to make my own coffee. That day, I don't know, whatever made me just I saw a piece of paper in the trash. And I just picked it up. And what was it? A CV of somebody who just completed NYSC and was looking for where to work. The guy had a first degree in the sciences. I've forgotten the exact course he read in sciences. But he also had ICANN. That ICANN is not relevant to the sciences he studied at the university. Obviously, he gave that CV to somebody to submit for employment, and the person believed that he just threw it away in the trash. Allah that wanted to do his job guided me to go to the kitchen at the right time and go and dip my hand in the trash, and the only thing I picked out of it was that CV. Of course, the rest became history. He was invited for job interview. So, we have to remember to be dedicated to our religion, pray to Allah. Allah will always help you. So, in conclusion, it's very, very important to build good daily habits, reflect on your current habits, identify areas for improvement, implement small changes at a time. Don't say until you are able to change everything about you, you are not going to move forward. One step at a time. Every day, eventually, you make success your own habit. You have to work on things people cannot take away from you. Those are things that will make you specifically successful in life. These things are summarily your skills, your physical self, your body, your own mindset, your character, your knowledge, your work ethics. This is how you become unstoppable. You become unstoppable by working on those things that defines you, no matter what anybody else can do. Jazakumullah khairan for listening to me. It's a pleasure talking to you. I wish you all the best in your career, and please don't be strangers. I love relating with my former students. Even those who I taught in university 7 years ago, they still contact me, and I will be happy to hear from all of you. Thank you very much, everybody, for your time.